All right, so welcome everyone to this introductory call for the second annual School of Connection. So tonight we're going to be taking some time to set the sacred space, and then we'll be going into a little discussion about what it means to be on this call, a discussion of invitation, the opening of the conversation. We'll be going over some of the core values of the school. We'll be going over the content, the structure of the year ahead, the 8 months that we shared together, the arc of the program, how that looks. And then we'll have an opportunity to ask some questions at the end and get responses from Ellen and I. So this is recorded, and we just welcome all of you who are here live and listening in, and we welcome all of you who are listening to this at a later date. We're really grateful that you're here, excited to share. So I invite us all to just take a moment and to close our eyes. If you are able, wherever you're at in your life, just to come to a quiet place, even if you can't close your eyes in this moment, see if you can just allow yourself to settle into yourself. Where you can begin to feel softening in your shoulders, your temples, your forehead, your jaw. And where you can begin to become conscious of the rhythm of your breath, your inhale and your exhale. Where you can take a moment to really feel where you are at this moment in time, the earth beneath you, the sky above you, your environment, to begin to engage your senses, to feel into your environment, to come present. Just to notice, right, how you've arrived, your state of being, how you're feeling in your heart, your mind, your body. And breathe. Taking a moment to welcome your full self here, however you've arrived, in whatever form, without judgment or expectation or good or bad or right or wrong, just to notice what is and welcome yourself here. For whatever reason, you've made it to this moment, you've made it onto this call, to listening to this. And so just taking a moment to actually arrive here, to give yourself the gift of being here. To soften with your exhale, to draw in that full, fresh, deep breath on the inhale, to lengthen through your body. To arrive. Take a breath together. So go ahead and just exhale through your nose to empty your lungs, to empty your breath. And take a deep inhale through the nose, fill all the way up. And open the mouth, exhale. Welcome. So my name is Hannah, for those of you that I've not yet met, and I am co-guide and co-founder of the School of Connection, and this is my friend Ellen. Ellen, if you want to say hi.
Yep, I'm Ellen, and sitting here in Northern California, and just want to welcome everyone who showed up. Thank you for the people who are showing up in person. I often am not one of those, and your presence just creates the circle, but there's going to be a lot of people listening to this afterwards, and welcome to all of you. So we're really looking forward to this.
So I wanted to start off just by talking a little bit about an invitation, right? Because all of us are here because we've felt and responded to an invitation. For whatever reason, maybe you know Ellen or I personally, maybe you came across the publications or a post, or just something caught your eye, caught your heart, caught your awareness. There was an invitation extended and you decided to say yes. So I really want to acknowledge that, because that's a really important piece. Because as soon as we choose to say yes to the invitation, as soon as we accept that invitation and arrive to that next step, like the first next step is responding, saying yes, then from that point we engage in a conversation that is always going on. And that's a huge piece of this program, and something that Ellen's going to be going a little bit deeper into is this concept of conversation. It's one of our important core values within this program. But I really just wanted to mark this point of invitation, that all of us are responding to an invitation, and to pay attention to what are the invitations that are happening in all of our lives every single day. I find in my own life, when I really study it, there are constantly invitations, opportunities, offerings that are resting at my feet. And so the more that I really begin to engage the awareness, what are the invitations? What are the offerings? What are the opportunities that are here? The more I begin to respond to that, and the more that that conscious conversation can begin to emerge, which I find continues to lead me to incredible places like this moment, like this school. So we're entering into our second year, and we'll share a lot more about that. But I want to pass the mic on over to Ellen and start to talk about what are some of the core values of this school? What is this school kind of all about? So Ellen?
Right. So even before that, I kind of want to put my 2 cents in, as always. You'll find with Hannah and me that she often says things that just really spark something for me, and I think it's vice versa. So before this call, we actually had this. We called this this little section "Calling," because it very much what this course is about is entering into conversation with our calling. But we didn't want to call this calling. We wanted to call it invitation, because calling implies that you're like, oh, I have a calling to be something. And really what calling is just exactly this, like, hello, are you there? Are you coming? And it can be a nice calling like that, or it could be a slap upside the head, like something terrible can happen and make you realize, okay, what I've been doing is not working. I need to do something else. Or it could be just, the calling could be, for me, it really was, okay, everything seems great, but is this all there is? Is this it? Isn't there something more? And so it's that, isn't there something more, that we're keying into and seeing as, I call it a call from soul. So it's that river beneath the river calling to us to enter into conversation and nothing more. That's why we're calling it an invitation. So heading into core values, though, of the course, the very first one, and the reason we're doing this is that I think that many people feel the call or hear an invitation and they don't know what to do with it. Or they tried various things and like, okay, this, or they answer the call and have really amazing experiences, but they don't have anyone to hear. So for myself, that was very much the case, where I was really answering a call, and I was in a world, the medical world, in which I really couldn't talk about it. I didn't have a community who understood the language that I was immersed in. So first value of this program is to build and to increase community. So we're going to be building community amongst each other. We're going to be going out and having numinous experiences, hopefully moving into the liminal, and then coming back and being able to report it to each other. So, for instance, going out on a wander in nature and encountering a spider or a beetle or a burl on a tree that you enter into conversation with. And you'll be able to come back and have a community that understands what it is to talk to a tree or to a stone or to a creek or to another person, whatever that may be. So, community. And then I would say for myself, this is true. Conversation, yeah. Conversation is probably the core of my practice. And I had this experience of listening to a college professor talking on KZYX here in Ukiah about conversation and how it's a different form of communication than really any other, like didactic teaching. Many forms of communication are, I have a point, I want to get it across to you, and I'm successful if you get my point. And in conversation, it is, I have this idea I'm thinking about, I put it out, it's received by someone else, and they go, oh, wow, well, that makes me think of, and they respond with whatever it makes them think of. And then the first person takes it in, goes, oh yeah, well then that makes me think about this. And what happens is you go back and forth and you're zigzagging back and forth and you end up in a place that neither of you knew you were going to end up in. That is like the coolest thing. That's how like new ideas come about. And so that is what we are fostering, and we're going to be creating the container for this, for you to, first of all, enter into conversation with yourself and actually, spoiler alert, selves with an S. So we're really going to be working with the idea that all of us are a multiplicity of parts, and that we, and often the parts are arguing with each other, and sometimes they're in cahoots with each other, but there's more than one like thing that is us. We have many parts. So we'll be entering into that conversation with ourselves. And then we're going to be entering into conversation with others, including others than human. So, in our Western culture, we're very, very human-centric, right? But we're going to be really working with moving into nature, and by doing that, taking our place in nature. Like, we are nature. We're not separate from nature. So we'll be taking our place and entering into conversation. And we literally will be having conversations with other than humans. And then, as the arc of the course evolves, we believe that that kind of conversation leads to service to the whole. So that when we get adept at making conversation with ourselves, with others, that is a service to humanity. So what are we going to do that? We have the whole program is designed to be a container to allow you to have those conversations. And the container will be really strongly held. We will be creating sacred space. We will be, keeping things moving. We will be holding this container. But the bubbling that goes on in the container is going to be determined by who is in it. So with this kind of commitment to conversation, we didn't even add this. There is a conversation that happens between each of us as an individual with the field that we all create together. So Hannah and I are really going to be taking the task, the sacred task of really listening to the field and supporting each of you to listen to the field and work with that. So it's a kind of this lovely thing that if you have a good, strong container, you can get wild And that's what we're really hoping for. And we're really looking forward to being surprised all the time. And I mean, that's really, for me, that's the sign, like, whoa, oh my God, I totally didn't expect that. That's the surprise, that the mystery, that's the sign that the mystery is really moving and working within us.
So that really inspires me, Ellen. Thank you so much for sharing those different core values, and like, what's the point of all of that? Why do this? Why engage in these sorts of conversations? Why build this sort of community? Like, what's the point? And I know that for myself, a huge impulse in creating this program was really this calling of like, okay, I know that I have a reason for being here. I feel these calls, right? I feel these invitations. I know that there's something deeper that's longing to come alive through me. I know that this world is calling for my full and engaged and embodied service in a way that I haven't yet actualized. And I know that it's time. I know that it's time to really step into who and what I am, and to really commit myself to the journey of self-study. And for me, that's a huge part of conversation, is learning how to be with the self, learning how to study all the different aspects of self, because I think that that's a core piece that we really bring into this, is the understanding that we're all made up of this multitude of parts, which Ellen spoke about. And I don't know if any of you have ever had the experience where maybe there's different voices that are talking within you, and maybe sometimes those voices have differing opinions about what you should do or what you should be or how you should respond to each day or how you go about your relationships or whatever it may be. I know that I definitely had that experience. So this is a really valuable place to learn how to navigate those conversations, to learn how to build a true relationship with all the different parts of yourself. Because like we spoke about at the beginning, it's as we learn how to accept these invitations, as we deepen into conversation, then we step closer to our expression of service to the whole. We surrender into the current of the river of life, which carries us to destinations that we couldn't even imagine. And this is a time where I feel like we're really being called to listen. We're really being called to bring our full self to every moment, to not just focus on what we're doing, but to focus on how we're being. And I find that the more that I learn how to converse with the parts, the more that I learn how to be in conversation with non-human others, in conversation with the energetics of a container, the more that I learn how to build true community, the more that I can show up in a real way. And that makes me really excited. And it's a beautiful container. Last year, just the power that emerged within it, within just being given the permission to take some time to focus on these things, right? Because I know for myself, sometimes these sorts of conversations and this sort of inquiry and investigation is one of the first things to go. When I get busy, when I get overwhelmed, when there's a lot that's happening in my life, I can make space for a whole lot of other things. And so there's something really powerful in committing to a container to focus on this sort of work, to focus on these deep conversations that might be really quiet. They might just be whispers, but they might be some of the most important conversations that we have in the whole of our life that lead us to things that we would just pass right by normally.
Yes. So shall we move on to the structure? We're going to try to be done within the hour. So just to give you guys the heads up. Oh, okay. You want to go?
Sure. This is an exciting year because this is the first time that we're switching up the structure a little bit. I'm working with the sunlight coming right in through the window that I chose to set up in front of. So I'm just illuminated.
Smile jowl.
Trying to climb up my chair. It's great.
Video, though,
so why this structure? We're working with a whole different structure this year, which is a really exciting thing. Last year, we met actually in person once a month, one full weekend every single month, and it was really powerful. And what we realized, based on some of the feedback that we received, is that there's a lot more women that want access to this kind of work. There's young mothers, there's women with full-time careers, there's women that live further away that can't come to Mendocino County one weekend a month. So we switched it up. We decided to change up the format to where we're going to be meeting in person. So we're going to have 2 in-person immersions in the Death Valley Wilderness. Getting some help here. Thank you.
Run behind the.
Nothing to see here. So we're going to have 2 in-person immersions in the Death Valley Wilderness, which I'm really excited about. It's a really special place in my heart. And the reason that we're doing that is because this in-person community building is a really important aspect. The depth of the relationships that come through this program, to have friends and sisters who really speak this language, who can help to hold us accountable in the conversations of the soul. I know in my life, that's one of the most important things that keeps me going, especially when things get difficult. So these in-person times in nature are to really begin to establish the foundations of this course. In the beginning, we start with a 5-day immersion in Death Valley to meet the women that you're going to be embarking on this journey with, so that it's not just names on a screen that you've never encountered, so you have a personal connection and relationship with them. And then after that point, we're going to be doing different online portals and online offerings. Ellen, do you want to talk a little bit more about that?
Okay, about the
content of the course and how it's structured between the in-person immersions.
we're going to have calls. So after our first 5-day immersion, which is going to be really, we're going to be hitting some of the core tools in those 5 days and sending you out on wanders and really kind of establishing the nature immersion piece of this, and the other tools that we use, sort of I think of them as language tools. Like we will all kind of agree on a language in which we're going to talk about our experiences. That's going to happen that first 5-day. And then we're going to be having calls. So we will, every 2 weeks, have a call. The first call of the month will be where Hannah and I will present content. And then we will offer you suggestions for what we call home play. And those home play will be things like sending you out on wanders. We're going to be asking you to do something that comes from the nature immersion world called the sit spot, which is to have a regular practice of sitting in nature, even if it's just outside your door. Not just, I mean, even if it is gloriously right outside your door, and noticing what happens. And the power of this particular practice is that you get to see how the nature around you changes through the seasons. We'll be doing this 8 months, and many people just continue doing it forever. You'll get to see who, the bird visitors are, who the different migrations, who shows up at different times, the weather patterns, all of that. So sit spot is going to be hopefully an ongoing practice. And then we will also be giving you exercises to do to explore whatever the content of this first call is. So we have the call, then you'll have 2 weeks to the next call to kind of complete that work. And then the next call is going to be a council call. So we will hold a council with all the council rules, and we will go over that as the course starts. Basically, we'll have a virtual talking piece, and whoever is holding the talking piece will be the only one talking. There won't be crosstalk. And then when the piece comes, when we're together doing this wonderful, intense work, the real urge, especially amongst women, I call it the urge to merge, is to be like, yes, I know, or try this, or some sort of engaging with each other's share. But in counsel, it's all about, if you talk about someone else's share, it's about what it brings up in you. So it's your share, it's your time to just talk about what is welling up with you. So we'll do a council call, and that will take us, we'll be going through the 4 directions and the content around that. And then we will be preparing for the second immersion week, which will be 7 days. And it'll be the opportunity to have 4 days of some sort of solo immersion. Okay, some sort of being on your own in nature, listening. And we'll talk much more about that. But I think I would like to say that last year we called it a vision fast. And at some point, Hannah turned to me and she said, I just have a hard time with this word vision fast. And it was such a relief to me. It was like, I know. And the vision fast is a very specific Native American tradition that was really set up for adolescent males to sort of subdue that testosterone, gloriously testosterone-driven body of theirs so that they could stop and listen. But what we find is that women have the ability to listen. It's something that we've grown up doing, listening and talking. And so this solo immersion will be something really different from that kind of a vision fast. People can choose to eat or not eat. We'll go into that in much deeper detail closer to the time. But the focus is listening rather than fasting and subduing your body so that you can listen. We think you've already got the ability to listen. And then we'll have 2 months after that where we'll go back to the calls and content about integrating the experiences and having the home play. So, how does this fit with our core values? It's really about, we are really seeking to create a structure that will allow you to deepen into this conversation with yourself, with nature, with the other than humans, and with each other. And we are hoping to really support the continuity with the regular calls, the regular hearing each other's stories. There's something so powerful about hearing each other's stories because we have these mind-blowing experiences, and that's really wonderful. And then somebody else has a completely different mind-blowing experience. And it informs us, and it informs the conversations then that we continue and carry out in our own lives. So there's this real weaving of self, the circle that we create, and then that greater world that we are really hoping to support going on.
Thank you for that, Ellen. And one of the things within these regular meetings, so Ellen talked about the continuity, but the content within this, we're going to be going a lot into different archetypes. So there's different ways of connecting, right? There's all this multitude of selves, as we've talked about, the different voices that live within. There's different archetypal expressions that we each have the opportunity to explore. So there's a very particular arc of the program. We start off with the gateway, the entrance of examining the power of the word, the different archetypes of the innocent and the sage, the sacred fool and the trickster, the puella, the bliss head. We move into the wild child, the reclamation of the inner child, the opportunity to bring our wounded children home to reawaken the wild soul. We move from there into the void, which is one of the ways that Ellen and I were talking about this is the power of the darkness, right? The reclamation of the gifts that lie within the wound, the power that is innate, the capacities that are gift out of these places within ourselves that we might otherwise be scared to turn towards. And then, of course, the humble servant. So moving into the reclamation of our teacher, of our elder, to be able to transform our codependents, our enablers into life-giving capacities to really serve the world. So there's an arc of this program. There's invitations, there's doorways where we examine the different ways that we show up in the world, where we examine the different parts of self. Because again, in order to come to our full expression of service to the world, in order to really integrate our quote unquote spiritual life with our everyday life, for me, this is a real passion, the integration piece. To be able to integrate these aspects of our lives, of our examination, this is the opportunity to really deepen into those containers, to study the self, to have those conversations established, to have real tangible tools that you can take with you that allow you to step deeper into service, that allow you to really fully be present with your life, to be able to respond to the invitations, to be able to come to life, to live on purpose in this time. That's my greatest prayer for myself and for the people that embark on this journey with us, is how to really honor the conversation of the soul, how to stay attuned to the one relationship that we're in, how to walk in a good way, and to really show up for what life is asking of us rather than what we think life should be offering us. So I've found that the arc of this program is really designed to support that. It's designed to support your relationship with yourself, your relationship with your soul, your relationship with the power of the one, and your relationship with your life. And all of that is conversation. All of that centers around conversation. So as you commit to a container like this, it gives you the opportunity to really make that a focus, to make that a priority. And one of our intentions within the design of the course this way is because it's something that you're able to do in your everyday life. There begins to become space for the extraordinary within the ordinary, space to really honor the sacred within the mundane, space to really have this continuity of this deeper conversation. That way it's not just one like super powerful weekend and then you're back in your regular life for 3 weeks and you kind of lose the threads and then you come back and it's huge. So with this particular format that we designed for this year, it's intended to really bring that continual thread all the way through, so that every day when you're with your children, when you're at your job, when you're with your partner, or when you're with yourself at home or tending your garden, or whatever you do in your everyday reality, you can begin to weave these deeper conversations in, and more importantly than that, become conscious of these conversations because they're always happening. And the more that we're able to turn our awareness towards them, the more that we bring our awareness to illuminate that which is being offered, the invitations that are continually showing up, then the more that we can be in alignment with the calling of the soul, the more that we can be in alignment and respond to what life is asking of us in this time and in this way. So I wanted to speak a little bit about the content and the arc of the course, and we can open up space. There's more on the website that you can look into, and then we'll open up space for questions if there's more specific questions about that. But I think something that's important to remember within this arc is, like Ellen spoke to a bit before, we're responding to the container. So although there's a format and there's a particular direction that we're aiming at, there's different conversations and inquiries that we will be engaging with, we're also, part of our job is to listen deeply to this container, this configuration of women that show up for this course, and to respond accordingly. So to really pay attention to what is being asked within the bigger container, what is alive in the moment, and to be able to utilize that within the arc of the content and the curriculum. And that's one of my favorite things about this, is that it is a living container. It's not something that's dry and mundane. It's something that changes and grows and takes shape within the moment, which I think is a really important capacity for all of us to cultivate. And it's one of my favorite things about the School of Connection. So one of the final pieces that I really want to highlight within the exploration of content is one of my favorite aspects of it, which is integration. And I've spoken a little bit about this, but I find that it's really important. It's really easy to have these conversations like, okay, I've got my spiritual quest, I've got my soul searching, I go and do these things, and then I have my everyday reality. And for me, it's really important for these conversations to be married in a more full and conscious way. They already are on a regular basis, but the more that we're able to really bring that conscious and allow that to happen, through integration, right? Recognizing that we have to bring all of this home. We can't just go out into the wild and be separate from everything. We have to be able to live the walk, right? Walk the talk. And so for me, this integration piece is huge. How do we bring this home? How do we have these huge conversations? How do we go out and spend 4 days in the wild engaged in conversations with non-human others and then re-enter our everyday life, re-enter our everyday relationships, re-enter our jobs, or whatever it may be? So there's a lot of focus on integration in this course and tangible tools for doing that. But it's one of my greatest passions of how do we really marry these conversations of the extraordinary and the ordinary, the sacred and the mundane, the calling of the soul, and the way that we are treating our loved ones. Our families of origin is a really good barometer for me. So this integration piece, how do we bring it home? So that's something that there's a big importance placed throughout the course as well as after, is how to really do that in a good way and with integrity so that our spiritual life isn't separate from our ordinary, and our expression of service, our expression of every single word that we speak, every single step that we take, all of the actions that we engage in are constant feedback systems that are allowing us to come closer and closer into relationship with ourselves, and therefore a more full and authentic expression of who and what we are and how we're responding to these times, because these times that we are alive in are quite unique. They are extraordinary, and they are calling the fullest of ourselves to rise. So for me, the arc of this course and this content is designed to support that, so that all of us can show up ever more fully and authentically and have a support network of women and sisters who are here to support us and hold us accountable in these conversations and in this expression of life.
And that makes me think of that in an effort to really support that, Hannah and I have encouraged that participants of our previous program to continue the conversation. And there will be some of the women who were in our program last year who will be continuing the program in order to continue their conversations. And our hope is that we're going to have this ever widening community of people. So we have one woman who's now in Georgia, and she hopefully will be starting circles, and that there will be this community that is not even just this year. It's going to be with the women from the other years, and you will have the opportunity, if you want, to continue it on. So I'm looking at the time, and I want to give everyone a chance to ask questions. And we're going to unmute you.
Perfect. And as we do that, I just want to acknowledge that there is so much within this, and there's a level to which we can speak about what this is, and then there's a lot that is emergent. There's a lot that is revealed as we embark. So I just welcome your questions, because those will help to illuminate different aspects that we may or may not have touched on, or to deepen into that. And I'm excited to hear what you all have to say.
And
so all of you, yeah.
I'm going to give a call out to Miss Allie, who was part of our program last time, and see if she might have something to say.
Hello. Thanks for putting me on the spot, Ellen. I guess
you can handle it.
Hannah, what you said just really spoke to me, because I just got back from Burning Man, and I've really just been kind of feeling disconnected and really craving some deeper, more meaningful connections. And I'm just sitting here just so grateful and so excited to be embarking on this journey again, just knowing the level of connection that this program creates and provides. And I really am so excited.
It's great to hear your voice. Yeah.
That means you're returning.
Oh yeah. So I also I went out to the desert, and I got another big fat yes. So
Yay! Yay for the man. He keeps on sending you back to us. So any questions, like anything that we said that, gives you pause, or like, what did they mean when they said this?
And we especially welcome challenges.
Yeah. All right. A little bit more time. Yeah. All right.
Mhm.
Okay, Hannah, do you want to say anything about where we're going to be meeting?
I'd love to. First, I also am inspired to just talk a little bit about mine and Ellen's background, which you can read a little bit about on the website. But for those of you that don't know us that well, especially within this aspect of the vision fast that arose earlier. So I want to speak to that because Ellen and I both have studied with the Animas Valley Institute and a man named Bill Plotkin doing work around the journey of the soul, soulcraft, wild mind. And so that was where we both began to step into our own experiences within that. And we're inspired to share and open up this space for women to have this solo nature immersion, because I know both of our lives have been transformed by that and the power of the way that those experiences were held for us and the teachers that we've studied with in response to that. As well, we both have an experience where we both studied with the same herbalism teacher, studying folk herbalism, apprenticeship to plants. And Ellen was a midwife for 30 years,
30.
helping to whew, helping to bring babies in the world and supporting women in that threshold, that powerful threshold and portal. And there's just a lot of wisdom and lived experiences and different lineages that we are both carrying that help to inform us. IFS is a huge aspect of this program. It's internal family systems, and that's where we gain a lot of our experience around parts work. Ellen holds that in a magnificent way, and it's been such a gift to learn more and more about that from her. It's an incredibly vital part of the program that has radically transformed my life and my conversation with all the voices inside. And there's a lot more to be said on all of that. So I really also welcome these questions about, like, where is this content coming from? Who have you trained with? Those sorts of things. Those have come up in my field a little bit. So I wanted to speak a little bit to those here and also give the invitation to ask questions around that at any point. And in terms of the question that Ellen posed of where we're going to be meeting. So these times in the wilderness are in a really special place to my heart, down in the Death Valley Wilderness. And we're going to be at a particular location that's outside of the actual park itself. It's just on the border. And there is actually a freshwater creek there with waterfalls and magnificent canyons. And it's a really special place that is just the opposite of some of what you would expect in Death Valley. You're in the middle of this intense desert landscape, which I find is a really powerful place to engage into those bigger conversations. But then there's this magnificent source of fresh water and just a beautiful surrounding. Some of the most incredible sunsets and sunrises that I've ever seen have been in that particular location. So it's really special in my heart, and I'm really excited to share it with all of you. And we will be there both for our beginning 5-day immersion, where we really establish the foundations of the course, as well as this full week-long 7-day immersion. And we already have actually a number of women that have signed up for the course and are in the process of enrollment. It's a really incredible group that's shaping up so far. So we're just really excited to continue to see who feels and responds to that invitation. And I also want to say that, say you listen to this call and you didn't ask any questions here, but then there's something that's sitting with you or something that you want more clarity around. We also have just free intro phone calls. If there's questions that you want to ask us or something that you want to find out, you can schedule that time. There's a link on the website, or you can reach out to either myself or Ellen, and we're so happy to engage in that conversation with you. If this is an invitation that you are feeling called to deepen into, we welcome it. We love this program a lot. Any final pieces you want to chime in with, Ellen?
I think that a thing that Hannah and I both share is this ear cocked to first our soul and then to the greater soul, our oversouls, and really listening to that voice. And so the certainty that we have is that the right people are going to show up for this. And the joy of doing a program like this is to actually see who shows up, because not only you think you're showing up because you like one or both of us, but really you're showing up for each other. And seeing the connections and the field that we make is maybe one of the most amazing experiences for all of us. I really feel that. So definitely there's head stuff to be decided, but I really encourage you to listen to your heart and your soul and that small, still voice that is offering the invitation, or you wouldn't even be listening to this.
All right, so we'll give one final invitation. If your heart is beating fast, if there's anything that wants to be addressed or asked, now is your moment, and then we will bring it to a close. In 3, 2, and 1.
So to bring it to a close, I'd like everybody to just take a moment, close your eyes, just offer a quick prayer of gratitude to having come together in this way. Talk about these things, however along the surface we've gone, but just the fact that some conversations like this can exist. And I'd like to give gratitude to all of the beings who we called in to support this call. And I'm going to clap 3 times, and with that clap, our prayers will have flown. And this call is complete. Thank you, everyone, for showing up.
Have a really good rest of your night.